things that happen in a stranger wouldn't be.
So apparently I'm in the majority again. So apparently I'm in the minority again. But I get why and I understand it. However, I really love this book. So after many years, we finally got some sort of add-on to the Hunger Games universe. Not the sequel, no. We got the prequel to basically Snow, to basically the Hunger Games itself. And we got to see exactly how so many, rules, facets, just like the identity of the Hunger Games came into being. And to me, a character-driven, loving the behind-the-scenes plotting reader, I was fascinated. This book just made a lot of sense to me, and it tied in a bunch of things from the original trilogy really well, in my opinion. But you guys, remember when this book was, just announced? Do you guys remember that there was a rumor going around that it was supposed to be actually from Mags's point of view? Remember the old lady from the second book, Catching Fire? When I heard that rumor, I wasn't that excited, even though everybody loves Mags. Name one person you know who hates her. She's an adorable little old lady. And she and Finnick, they just got the cutest, grandson, grandmom vibe ever. But then the truth came out that this is actually going to be about President Snow. Technically before he's President Snow. However, a lot of people were not happy that this was about President Snow because they were afraid the author would try to make him into a sympathetic character. Maybe how he started off as just a cute, adorable, innocent little boy and then something wretched happened in his past. But no, I digress. What I believe that we have in this book is a believable prequel to the man we met in the original trilogy. The premise starts off interesting. Now, Snow's first name is something I can't pronounce, so I'm just going to call him Snow. But when we first open up this book, Snow, he's 18 years old, I believe, and we are 10 years after the war between the districts and the capital. The capital won, the districts had to pay penance via the Hunger Games. Each district would have to give up 2 children, a boy and a girl. They would be shipped off to the capital, they would have to fight in the Hunger Games, and only one would be left standing. However, even though, the districts obviously got the bad end of that deal, the capital isn't that well off either. I mean, they practically obliterated most of their workers. And those fat cats up in their penthouses, well, they're not that well at coping with this destitute life and stuff. And Snow's family in particular, their main source of their income was in the factories that were in District 13, which we know got obliterated off the map because of the war. So Snow is virtually penniless, and he's putting on this show that his family is still rich, but behind closed doors he's eating hot water and cabbage. That's all he can afford. The first shock to me was actually knowing that Tigress, who we met in the 3rd book, Mockingjay, is actually his cousin. And if you also remember, Tigress isn't that fond of Snow when she's in the 3rd book, so what happened? We don't get to know in this book, but they're best friends in this book. They're family. They have each other's back. They live with their grandma, and they're basically all that Snow really has. He's putting on this facade, and he is just power hungry. He's like, I just have to hold on till I finish school, get my scholarship, and then he'll be on his way to being president one day. And the school has decided for the 10th Hunger Games that they're going to allow the students of their school, the capital school, to mentor the incoming tributes. Because as we know in the original trilogy, the mentors are the past victors of the Hunger Games from the new tributes districts. We have Haymitch, the victor of the 50th Hunger Games, mentoring Peeta and Katniss. But no, for number 10, we have students who are roughly the same age as the tributes, giving these people advice. And Snow also sees this as another way to secure his future. However, he's given District 12 to mentor. The dregs of the districts. The poorest one. It's basically a slap in the face. Because not a lot of the council members of the school like Snow, and they're catching on to his charade that he's actually a rich boy. No, But the District 12 female tribute turns out to be a little more special than we originally thought. And so that's the basic groundwork for the novel. I gave it a 4.5 because it hit all the points that I needed except for the last 30 pages. I enjoyed myself immensely, but I totally see why people would not like this book. If you're a plot-driven reader, I guarantee you won't like it. But character-driven me was very satisfied. I have 10 points, 5 pros, 5 cons, and I'm just going to lay it out for you just to tell you why I think this book is a worthy addition to the Hunger Games trilogy. Let's start with the first good point, and that is Snow himself. I thought this man was a fantastic character. If you remember in the trilogy, we saw Snow in the first Hunger Games book for a page. He only showed up at the award ceremony, broke the crown in half, and put them on the 2 tributes' head. one half on her side, one half on his side. Then he kind of like scowled at Katniss and then like walked off. And then we only had him for one, albeit awesome, dialogue between him and Katniss in the second book. Same thing for the third book. And even though we saw like the consequences of some actions of his, we didn't get to see Snow himself a lot. And I really, really want to see my villains. I don't like it when they're off on the sidelines letting their minions run around like making a mess out of everything. I need a present villain. And we got that in this book. I said before that I think that I could easily see this kid growing up into that evil dictator, basically. I mean, yes, he's basically still a child now and he has a bit of tenderness, but he's still so power hungry and conniving. He's hiding a secret, he's manipulating others like chess pieces. And the whole sympathetic part, like, do we want to cheer for him? I was cheering for him because that's how, like, he snared me up too. I felt bad that he was poor. I felt bad that their poverty was hurting Tigress, who was a very nice, sweet character. I wanted him to succeed. Our boy Snow saw some awful, awful things happen during the war. Even cannibalism, that kind of freaked him out. And the way that he played people in the book to get his own goals, even though some of them actually backfired on him, I was hooked. I couldn't wait to see like what would happen next. Moving on to one of the more negative aspects of the book, there's actually two in this little category thing. There was too many songs and too many side characters. Like as soon as I opened the book, I'm like basically hit with a song. The next page, there's another song. One's an anthem, one's sung by a character. And I'm like, why are there so many songs and poems in this book? Then I was like, it's the Hunger Games. And I forgot how much we were reading songs in that book, like Into the Meadow, Hanging Tree. So you kind of get a sense that Suzanne Collins was trying to recreate that magic. I don't think the songs in this one are as memorable as the original ones, but I also can't imagine what the music would be like too. I just see the lyrics. I can't think of a melody in my head. But the side characters. So, we're in the capital the whole time. Well, basically for the first two parts of the book. And if you remember, all the capital people had these big Roman names. Levinicus, Spartacus, Lalalabakingamicus. And Snow being a mentor and a student, he's paired up with 23 other mentors and students. And they're all together, and they all have something to say. And they're really hard to tell apart. Even harder to remember because they're really weird names. There's a lot of funny side characters too, but I just can't, don't ask me to like name them off the top of my head. The only characters' names I could really remember in this book were Snow, Lucy Grays, Dr. Galls, ooh, I really like Dr. Gall, and also my second good point, Sejanus. Sejanus is a fellow mentor, and he's sort of like a companion to Snow, but it's really one-sided. Sejanus is like, oh, Snow, he's my best friend, he's basically like a brother, he's always looking out to me, and Snow's like, I hate your guts. But, you know, he's power hungry, so he's like fake smiling all the time, like, Sejanus has a really interesting backstory when it comes to his family. His mom, his dad, they're originally from District 2, so they're district people, not capital people, and you can bet he gets bullied for this sometimes. However, during the war, I believe their dad defected to the capital side, and he was like a munitions inventor, producer, and so he got really, really rich selling to the capital, and when the war was over, they allowed him and his family to move into the capital, and they're now among the richest families. Sejanus, however, hates capital life. He wants to go back to the districts, and he is like so angry that he got put in a mentor position for the Hunger Games. He's being made to serve the institute he basically hates. And he is like the absolute foil for Snow. He's everything Snow's not. And that serves just to like highlight Snow's darkness, or like Sejanus' sunshine, but not really sunshine. He made a lot of stupid decisions, but he was naively innocent. Like, he had good, naively heroic, that's what I meant. He had a lot of good intentions, he just didn't have Snow's brains to make them succeed. There's a part in the book where Snow and Sejanus, they get separated for a little bit, but then, you know, fate brings them back together, and Sejanus is like, brother! And even Snow's like, I missed you! And I'm like, I missed you too! Sejanus was a good character. Am I pronouncing his name right? Sejanus. I'm going to use this water break real quick just to mention that the title's lame. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. The cover's cool though. Moving on to the second negative point, which I know will make you plot-driven readers cringe, is the fact that we're more passively watching than doing. We're not Katniss running in the woods with a bow and arrow. We're basically what Haymitch was doing during the Hunger Games. No, not like drinking alcohol, no. We're basically sitting in a control room, watching a panel watching the people in the Hunger Games, because we're the mentors. It's a lot of ethical debates in classrooms, a lot of talking, a lot of essay writing, a lot of things that could be like, oh, pointless, you're just building up the page count, word count, I don't know. This is part where they were assigned a project to write about what they love about war. That dragged on a little bit, but it really does like build the blocks of Snow's mentality, like how he thinks, and why when he did go on to be president, why he didn't put a stop to the Hunger Games, because he sees it as a form of control. He's not really fond of it, but he sees the necessity of it. When I was like just getting into this book, I was afraid we wouldn't even be part or even like see a Hunger Games. I thought Snow was gonna meet the girl tribute, fall in love, and just run off immediately with her, break her out, run off into the wilderness or something, hide her in a bunker, something that wasn't fighty. But no, we actually do get to see the 10th Hunger Games, and it is interesting. And even though we're experiencing it behind a monitor, basically, inside of a control room, we are with Snow, and he's making the quick decisions on, should I send water now? I can't, because I might reveal her position to, like, an enemy. It doesn't really hurt the Hunger Games experience, in my opinion. And if you guys remember Katniss and Peeta, when they were taken to the Capitol, they were basically living in the lap of luxury until the Hunger Games actually started. Fancy trains, fancy food, they got to wear whatever clothes they want. They could actually train and prepare themselves for the Hunger Games. Not this one. We're really early on, so they haven't even figured out how they want the games to work really yet. How it's been going so far is they just have an arena, same arena, because if you remember from the original trilogy, they would change their arena every year, but no. In this one, it's the same arena. They don't even like upkeep it. They wash the bodies out, clean up some blood, but that's it. That arena sits barren for a year and only opens up again when it's time for the new Hunger Games. And the kids, they're just tossed in, barely fed before even entering the arena, no training and weapons. They were living inside, I don't want to tell you what they were living in because it was like a good shock, but they were definitely not living in the 5-star hotel Katniss and Peeta were in. No matter what, the Hunger Games were inhumane. But in this book, they were even more inhumane. And that was fascinating. And that's just going to segue into the next good point, how bleak the world is. It was so fascinating to see all these originally really rich people just try to fight to survive. Probably said this before, but I always figured the capital was always like super ahead of itself, like ahead of the districts when the war was going on. Like, oh, they were practically invincible, like they didn't even flinch at the district's attacks. But no, they barely survived too. The capital is basically picking up the pieces of their lives, still like holding on to their fancy outfits and stuff, trying to like maintain that nothing happened, but they're still pretty shattered. It fascinated me how, you know, in the Capitol in the original trilogy, they're very, very loyal. You say something bad about the Capitol, you go into jail, you're going to be turned into an AVOX, something bad is going to happen to you. But in this book, people had a lot looser tongues. Not a lot of people were happy. There were many people who were all for the Hunger Games. Then you had like the middle of the road people like Snow, who's like, okay, we need them, but I don't have to approve of it. And then you had the people like Sejanus who just absolutely detested it, and like Sejanus went on like temper tantrums saying how much he hated the Capitol, how much he hated the districts, not the districts, how much he hated the games, and he kind of got off scot-free a lot of the times. Like, people were just too tired to like put up with him. Moving on to our next weaker point is our main girl character, Lucy. Now, as a character, as a girl herself, I don't really have any problems with Lucy. She had like a southern tone to her. She was really happy and cheerful. She made the best out of everything. She was a really nice girl. And there was times I even found her funny, especially like what she did prior to stepping up on the stage at the reaping, where she basically got her name called out as a tribute. But I think you guys could make a valid point that there was some insta-love going on. And I don't think it's a spoiler to say it's between Lucy and her mentor, who is Snow, but I really do understand why it's insta-love. This isn't a spoiler, so bear with me. This could be another like, oh, that's another star off for you, matter for you, but I was like, okay, I see why this is happening. So we can definitely tell that Snow has a few screws loose. There's some disconnect in his mind. He's not very empathetic. Yeah, he's a sociopath, but he's just like fascinated with Lucy Gray, and that fascinated turns to love. And you can say, oh, that happened so fast, but I get why it happened, because Lucy Gray is his ticket to a better life. She can sing, she can dance, the Capitol and all the cameras are always focused on her because she has that entertainment value that the Capitol wants. And so he sees that, he wants to take care of her so she can just make her shine more, because her success will be his success. And I think that this power-hungry need to succeed, he misinterpreted as, oh, I must love this girl then because I want to like help her, I want to be with her. And for a girl in the position that she was in, she was maybe unrealistically optimistic. And she did tell Snow that she loved him really, really soon. I'm just gonna to play that off as Stockholm Syndrome. Like, hey, I'm in a cage, basically. This guy's the only guy nice to me. At first, I thought, actually, just gonna put a spoiler thing right here. I thought originally that she was playing up this angle that, oh my gosh, I love you, Snow. I love you, Snow, just so he would help her out more. And then I thought she was just gonna, like, toss him aside, like, as soon as she was the victor. Didn't happen. No, she actually loved him. In the end, though, their relationship kind of took a turn. Not kinda. It's why I knocked half a star off this book. And mostly it's because of the poem. If you guys know, it's Lucy Gray's poem. You read that poem, you know exactly how the book's gonna end. And I was not a fan of it. Another spoiler thing here for like the very last 30 pages. If you guys read to the end of the book, you know that Snow went into the Peacekeeper Corps. He went to 12, he met Lucy Gray again. The relationship got deeper. Then he realized he had to, like, defect, flee. What's it called? AWOL? He had to, like, get out of the districts, basically. He couldn't have the capital coming after him, and Lucy Gray was like, yeah, I'm gonna go with you. And it was all because that he did murder someone, and he had no idea where the murder weapon is, so he couldn't clean it. So his fingerprints were still on it, and if the gun was found, he would be killed. So they leave, and like Snow, he's really having a bunch of second thought. Like, I'm an indoor cat. I really shouldn't be outside. But you know, he's with his girl. He's happy until they get to a shack where they rest a moment and he finds the gun. Then he's like, oh, I could clean this gun now. My name will be clear. They won't have anything tying me to that murder. Except Lucy Gray knows all about it. So that's when he gets into his head that he should probably kill her. Really quick decision, character swap, just like that. I kind of got it because, you know, he's a sociopathic, like, oh, you outlived your uselessness. Bang. But then Lucy Gray just up and disappears, like in the poem. And I'm like, what's up with you, girl? And I just don't like that mystery aspect about it. Snow's like, oh, she betrayed me. And I'm like, did she? Did she really? Because we don't know if she... The book hints that she, like, knew as soon as she seen the gun that... oh, this is his chance to, like, get rid of it and get rid of the witness, and left. But it also makes it feel like something happened to her, and, you know, I just want my mystery solved. So for you guys who skipped the spoiler, the ending and how it's basically an echo of the poem that happened many, many pages before that basically spoiled the ending. Wasn't a fan how it just kind of, like, unraveled and flopped into the dirt. There was a bit about the ending that actually made me really happy because one of my favorite characters came back into the book. But that poem, did not like it. And speaking of that favorite character of mine, back to the prose, we got Dr. Gall. This lady is crazy. She does human experimentations. She has Snow and a classmate reach into a giant vat of poisonous snakes just to test who's a liar and who's not. Super cool scene, by the way. And she's like fascinated with Snow too. It's like these two sociopaths are just like, And I really want to see more of her. And this book has so much potential to be a sequel, to have a sequel, and I really do want that. Because, and this is another con, there was one scene I wanted to see in this book, and it didn't happen. If you guys remember from the trilogy, Snow, his breath smells like blood. And it's not until the third book, Mockingjay, that we realize why. Apparently, there was this time in Snow's life where he was in a room full of, like, political enemies, and he poisoned all of their drinks. But to avoid suspicion, he poisoned his own drink. Everybody drank. All of them died except him, because he had the antidote, but a little side effect happened that gave him, like, these sores in his mouth, and they never heal. So he's, like, constantly bleeding in his mouth. I wanted that scene to happen so bad, but it didn't. So that just gives me reason to expect that we'll see it in the next book. And I'm lastly going to wrap it up with my favorite bit of backstory in this book. The origin of the Hanging Tree song. We get to see that scene. The man who gets hanged, his lover, tells for her to flee, all of it. And it is such a haunting scene, especially with the jabberjays that are in the trees, and they just, like, echo the dying man's cry. Like, I felt chills. It just made an already awesome song that much more, like, powerful. And it was super interesting to know who created that song and why it got banned. I rate a book on 5 things, 5 stars: plot, characters, uniqueness, rereadability, and writing style. Writing style super simple, not a lot of description, so you can, like, really breeze through it. Of course, I'm going to reread it again, and I thought the uniquest, that's a word, I thought the uniquest point to this book was just seeing the birth of the Hunger Games we know in Katniss and Peeta's time. And also from that villain's point of view, which was done very, very well in my opinion. Characters again in Snow and Dr. Gall and Sejanus were very awesome. However, some of those side characters who we can't really name because they have the weird names, and there's just so many of them, and honestly the weakest point could be the plot and just how slow it is, just how passive it is. However, character-driven reader, I enjoyed it. I like the internalness of it all. And again, I think it's a very, very good addition to the Hunger Games, and I do believe, at least my brother tells me, and he knows everything, that there's going to be a movie, and you can bet I'm going to watch it. And I get it, if you don't want to sympathize with Snow, fine, probably not the book for you. However, if you're twisted like me, and if you want to see some morally gray characters have at it in a power-hungry struggle, this is a really good book. And there's a chance I'm going to reread it very, very soon. Thank you guys for watching. I am Casey, and may the odds be ever in your favor.